The Galactic Tribunal had ruled the Milky Way galaxy for 60,000 years. 12 ancient species sat on this council. They controlled every star system. They decided who could travel through space. They made the rules and everyone followed them. No one ever said no to the tribunal. Until the humans came. Humans had only been traveling through space for 300 years. To the ancient species, this was nothing, a blink of an eye. The tribunal saw humans as children who had just learned to walk. They were small. They were weak. They were not important. But humans had a problem. They did not like to follow rules made by others. They wanted to make their own choices. They wanted to grow and spread across the stars, and they refused to bow down to anyone. High Arbiter stood at the center of the great chamber aboard the Sovereign Citadel. This station was as big as Earth's moon. It floated in the darkness of space, far from any star. The 12 species had built it together, long before humans existed. Was made of living crystal. His body was tall and sharp. When he spoke, his voice sounded like glass breaking. He had lived for 9,000 years. He had seen many species rise and fall. He had never seen anything quite like humans. "The humans have rejected our offer," announced to the chamber. "They will not give up their colonies. They will not limit their population. They will not remove the weapons from their ships." The representatives of the 12 species began to talk all at once. The who looked like giant insects clicked their hard mouths together in anger. The whose bodies glowed with inner light flashed bright red with rage. The ancient beings of pure energy crackled with electricity. "Impossible," said the representative. "They are nothing, they are dust. How dare they refuse us?" "They dare because they do not understand," said calmly. "They do not know what we can do. They do not know what happens to species who refuse the tribunal." A heavy silence fell over the chamber. Everyone knew what happened. There had been others who refused. None of them existed anymore. "We offered them protection," continued. "We offered them a place in our order. They could have lived peacefully under our guidance. Instead, they choose destruction." He raised one crystal arm. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed the positions of 40,000 warships, the combined fleet of all 12 species, the largest military force ever assembled in the history of the galaxy. "We will give them 12 hours to change their minds," said. "If they do not surrender, we will begin the extinction of their species. Our calculations show it will take 1 week to destroy all human colonies and populations. We have planned for 3 weeks to be thorough." The representatives nodded in agreement. This was the right thing to do. Humans had been given a chance. They had refused. Now they would face the consequences. Far away on a small blue planet called Earth, the message arrived. Admiral Park stood in the United Terran Command Center. This room was hidden deep underground, beneath a mountain in the eastern part of the continent. The walls were thick enough to survive any attack. Screens covered every surface, showing information from across the solar system. Was not a large woman. Her hair had turned gray from years of stress and hard choices. Her eyes were dark and serious. She had fought in 3 different conflicts during her career. She had lost friends. She had made terrible decisions, but she had never faced anything like this. General Menu stood beside her. His face carried old scars from battles long ago. He read the message from the tribunal without showing any emotion. He had learned long ago to hide his feelings. "They want us to surrender everything," said quietly. "Our ships, our colonies, our freedom, or they will kill us all." "Every single human," Menu agreed. "That is what they promise." Looked at the tactical display. 40,000 alien warships were moving toward Earth. Each ship was bigger than anything humanity had ever built. Each ship carried weapons that could destroy cities in seconds. The aliens had been fighting wars for longer than humans had existed as a species. Humanity had maybe 200 warships in total, small ones, fast ones but small. They think we are weak, said. They think we are children, Minyu replied. Allowed herself a small smile. It was not a happy smile. Get me Captain Sora Lee on the Hammer of Dawn, and wake up Dr. Han at the Prometheus Institute. A young officer looked up from his station. Admiral, it is 3 in the morning in Geneva. Dr. Han will be sleeping. I know what time it is, said. Tell him it is time, he will understand. Minyu raised an eyebrow. So we are doing it, after all these years of preparation. We always knew this day would come, said. The tribunal does not share power. They do not accept equals. It was always going to be war. The only question was when. She turned to face the main screen, where the alien fleet grew larger with every passing minute. 40,000 ships, 12 ancient species, 60,000 years of military experience. And they had given humanity 12 hours. They think 12 hours is a short time, Minyu observed. They do not understand us, replied. They see our small ships, they count our small numbers, they look at our short history, and they think they know who we are. She clasped her hands behind her back. They have made a very serious mistake. Across the galaxy, aboard the Sovereign Citadel, High Arbiter felt something strange. For just a moment, his crystal body vibrated in an unusual way. It was almost like a warning, almost like fear. But that was impossible. There was nothing to fear from humans. He dismissed the feeling and began planning the extinction. He would soon learn that some mistakes cannot be corrected. Commander of the was proud. He had been chosen to lead the first attack against the humans. 8,000 warships followed his command. This was the largest fleet that had ever assembled. It was more than enough to crush these young creatures who dared to challenge the tribunal. His ships came out of fold space at the edge of the human solar system. The planet Neptune floated before them, blue and cold. His many eyes studied the tactical displays. His hard mouth clicked with satisfaction. Reports, he ordered. His tactical officer responded quickly. We detect 17 human vessels near the planet Jupiter. Another 42 ships are spread throughout the inner system. This appears to be most of their military force. Made a sound that was the version of laughter. 59 ships. They send 59 ships against 8,000. These creatures are not just weak, they are stupid. His officers clicked their agreement. Move forward, commanded. Standard attack formation. We will sweep through this system like fire through dry grass. Nothing will survive. The fleet began its advance. 8,000 ships moved as one, their engines burning bright against the darkness of space. They were beautiful in their way, beautiful and terrible. Did not know that he was being watched. Aboard the human ship Hammer of Dawn, Captain Sora Lee stood on her bridge. She was young for a captain, only 34 years old. But she had been chosen for this command for a specific reason. She could make hard choices quickly. She did not hesitate. Her first officer stood beside her, was known for her calm face. Nothing seemed to bother her. The crew called her stone face, but they meant it with respect. The fleet has entered our system, reported. 8,000 ships. They are using standard formation. Sora nodded. They are confident. They think this will be easy. They do not know what we have prepared. Sora turned to her communications officer. Open a channel to all Terran forces. This is Hammer Actual. Execute protocol. May we see our families again. Across the solar system, in places the aliens had never found, things began to happen. For 100 years, humanity had been preparing for this day. Every trade agreement with the tribunal had been a trick to buy time. Every peaceful gesture had been a lie to keep the aliens looking the other way. Every year, humans had been building and hiding. In hollowed-out asteroids far from any shipping lanes, shipyards had been working in secret. Inside the moon, factories had been producing weapons that no species had ever seen before. Orbital stations that looked like simple mining platforms were actually military bases. And everywhere ships had been waiting. 3,000 warships powered up their engines for the first time. They were not like any ships the tribunal had seen. They were smaller, yes, but they carried technology that the ancient species had never imagined. On Earth, in a laboratory hidden beneath the Swiss mountains, Dr. Han watched the ships launch through his monitoring systems. He was an old man now, thin and tired. He had spent his entire life working on this project. He had given up everything: family, friends, a normal life. But he had succeeded. The ancient species used fold space to travel between stars. It was like using roads. You could only enter and exit at certain points. The tribunal controlled all these points. This was how they controlled the galaxy. Han had discovered something different. He had found a way to fold space anywhere, at any time, instantly. His ships did not need roads. They could appear wherever they wanted. "It works," he whispered to himself, watching the displays. "After all these years, it works." Commander noticed something strange on his tactical display. New signals were appearing. Many new signals, too many. "What is this?" he demanded. "Where are these ships coming from?" His tactical officer was clicking his mouth rapidly. This was a sign of confusion and fear. "Commander, I do not understand. These ships were not there a moment ago. They simply appeared." "That is impossible. Ships cannot simply appear. They must come through fold space. There are no fold points in this area." "Commander, there are now 3,000 human vessels surrounding our fleet." Felt something he had not felt in a very long time. He felt afraid. The Hammer of Dawn appeared directly behind his flagship. It did not fly there. It did not travel through fold space. One moment the space was empty. The next moment the ship was there. Sara Lee's voice came through on an open channel. "Commander, this is Captain Sara Lee of the United Terran Forces. You have entered our space with hostile intent. You have approximately 4 seconds to surrender." Was still trying to understand what was happening when the first shot was fired. The weapons the humans used were not like anything they had seen before. They were not plasma. They were not missiles. They were something that pulled at ships. Gravity itself became a weapon. His flagship began to collapse inward, as if a giant invisible hand was crushing it. All across the fleet the same thing was happening. Human ships appeared from nowhere, fired and vanished before anyone could shoot back. They came from above, from below, from every direction at once. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When it was over, 8,000 ships were nothing but debris floating in space. Commander was dead. His entire fleet was destroyed. On the Sovereign Citadel, High Arbiter received the report. His crystal body cracked in 3 places. This had never happened before. It was a physical reaction to shock so great that his mind could not process it. "Verify these numbers," he demanded. His communications officer trembled. "High Arbiter, the entire Vanguard fleet is gone. All 8,000 ships destroyed in 11 minutes. The chamber fell silent. The representatives of the 12 species stared at the tactical display in horror. They watched recordings from automatic sensor stations. They watched human ships appear from empty space, strike like lightning, and vanish again. "How?" the representative whispered. "How is this possible?" No one had an answer. 32,000 ships remained in the tribunal fleet. Surely that would be enough. It would not be enough. Fear spread through the tribunal fleet like a disease. The news of the Vanguard's destruction traveled from ship to ship. 8,000 vessels gone in 11 minutes. The greatest fleet ever assembled turned to dust. How had the humans done this? High Arbiter stood in the center of the tribunal chamber. His crystal body showed new cracks. These would never heal. They were permanent marks of the shock he had experienced. But he was old. He was experienced. He forced himself to think clearly. "Show me everything," he ordered. Every sensor record, every piece of information. The holographic display expanded. The representatives of the 12 species watched in silence as the battle played out before them. They saw human ships appear from empty space. They saw weapons that bent gravity itself. They saw their proud warships crushed like paper. They fold space without using fold points, the representative said slowly, the energy being flickered with something like fear. This should not be possible. We have studied space travel for 60,000 years. This technology does not exist. It exists now, replied. The humans have created it. But they are children, the representative protested. They have only traveled through space for 300 years. How can they have technology that we do not? Was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, and his voice was heavy with a new understanding. We made a mistake. We looked at their short history and saw weakness, but perhaps we should have looked at something else. In 300 years, they went from primitive rockets to ships that can match our own. In 300 years, they built colonies on dozens of worlds. In 300 years, they created technology we have never imagined. He paused. They do not learn like us. They do not build like us. They are different. The representative made an angry clicking sound. Different or not, they cannot stand against all of us. We still have 32,000 ships. Their tricks cannot work forever. We must attack. Considered this. There was right about one thing. They still had numbers on their side, and surely the humans could not have unlimited resources. We will continue the attack, he decided. But we will change our strategy. No more tight formations. We will spread out across the entire system. We will approach from every direction. They cannot be everywhere at once. On Earth, Admiral Park watched the enemy fleet begin to move. She stood in the command center, surrounded by displays and officers. Her face was calm. Her hands were steady. They are spreading out, General Minu observed. A smart response to what we showed them. Smart but not smart enough, replied. They still think this is about ships, about formations, about tactics. And it is not. Shook her head slowly. No, this war was over before it started. They just do not know it yet. She turned to her tactical officer. Status on the array. The officer checked his displays. All 12,000 satellites are in position. They are tracking every enemy ship in real time. Power levels are at maximum. The array was humanity's true weapon, not the ships, not the gravity guns. 12,000 satellites spread throughout the solar system. Each one carried a small fold drive. Each one carried a special weapon. They had been hidden for decades, disguised as space junk, hidden in asteroid fields, drifting silently in the darkness. The tribunal had never noticed them. In the asked, Captain reports ready. The ship is holding in fold space, awaiting orders. There was humanity's final answer. A ship so large it was almost a small moon, 17 kilometers long, 40,000 crew, weapons that could destroy planets. It had taken 50 years to build in complete secrecy. Nodded, tell to hold position. We will try one more thing first. She pressed a button and spoke into a microphone. Attention, Tribunal Fleet. This is Admiral Park of United Terran Command. You have seen what we can do. Your vanguard is destroyed. We offer you one chance to withdraw from our space. Take this chance. Go home. There does not need to be more death today. The response came quickly. It was from High Arbiter himself. Admiral Park, your tricks are impressive, but you are still outnumbered. 32,000 ships against your 3,000. You cannot win. Surrender now and we will make your extinction quick and painless. Closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, they were cold. So be it, I offered peace. Remember that when this is over. She turned to Minu. Activate the array. Minu did not hesitate. Array activated. Across the solar system, 12,000 satellites suddenly came alive. They did not move. They did not need to move. Instead, they reached out with their fold drives and touched the space inside every tribunal ship. The effect was simple and terrible. Every tribunal ship used reactors to power itself. These reactors worked because space around them was stable. The satellites made that space unstable, just for a fraction of a second, just enough. 28,000 ships died at the same moment. Their reactors lost control. Their cores exploded. Metal and flesh and technology all turned to fire and dust in a single heartbeat. One moment, a mighty fleet. The next moment, nothing but a cloud of debris spreading slowly through the darkness. Admiral Park felt no joy. She felt only sadness for all the lives that had just ended. Alien lives, yes. Lives of enemies who wanted to kill her people, but still lives. Still beings who had thoughts and feelings and fears. How many survived? She asked quietly. Approximately 4,000 ships, Minu reported. They managed emergency shutdowns before the wave hit them. Their reactors are cold. They are drifting dead in space. Open a channel to them. Her face appeared on every screen in every surviving tribunal ship. The aliens stared at her with eyes and sensors full of terror. This is Admiral Park. Your fleet is destroyed. Your weapons are dead. You have 1 hour to surrender completely. If you do not, we will show you what happens when we stop being gentle. She ended the transmission. The word gentle echoed in the minds of every tribunal commander. She had called this gentle. What would happen if the humans stopped being gentle? No one wanted to find out. The sovereign citadel had never been so quiet. The great chamber, where the 12 species had met for thousands of years, felt like a tomb. The representatives sat in their places, but no one spoke. No one moved. The holographic displays showed only debris where their mighty fleet had been. High Arbiter stood at the center of the chamber. More cracks had appeared in his crystal body. He looked old now, tired, broken. 36,000 ships, he said softly, gone in less than 6 hours. This cannot be real, the representative whispered. Their glow had dimmed until they were almost dark. This must be a nightmare. We will wake up. This is not a nightmare, replied. This is real, and we must face it. The representative made angry clicking sounds, but they were weak sounds. There was no strength behind them. We still have ships at home. We still have armies. We can rebuild. We can try again. Can we? The representative flickered. The humans can fold space anywhere. Their weapons can reach inside our ships and destroy them from within. Distance means nothing to them. Walls mean nothing. Our home worlds are not safe. Raised one crystal hand for silence. There is something else you should know. I have received reports from our intelligence networks. There is a human ship called the... It is enormous. 17 kilometers long. It carries weapons that can crack planets open. The representative stared at him. According to our sensors, this ship is currently holding position near each of our 12 home worlds at the same time. That is impossible, the representative said. One ship cannot be in 12 places at once. They fold space without limits, reminded them. For them, being in 12 places at once is simple. Silence fell over the chamber again. The representatives began to understand the true situation. It was not just that they had lost a fleet. It was that they could not win. They could not fight. They could not even hide. The humans could reach them anywhere. The humans could destroy them anytime they chose. Why are we still alive? The representative asked suddenly. If they can do all this, why have they not destroyed us already? It was a good question. Had been wondering the same thing. Perhaps they want something from us, he said slowly. Perhaps they want to talk. As if in answer, the main display flickered. A new signal was coming through. A human woman appeared on the screen. She was old, with silver hair and calm eyes. She wore formal robes. This was not a military commander. This was something else. I am Dr. Shin, the woman said. Secretary General of the United Earth Council. I represent the civilian government of humanity. I wish to speak with you. Straightened his cracked form. I am High Arbiter. I represent the Galactic Tribunal. What do you want, human? I want to prevent more death, Shin replied, and I want to offer you a choice. A choice, the representative clicked bitterly. What choice do we have? You hold all the power. You could destroy us at any moment. Yes, Shin agreed. We could, but we will not. This surprised everyone in the chamber. Let me explain something, Shin continued. You declared war on us because we would not become your subjects. You gathered 40,000 ships. You planned to kill every human in existence. 8 billion people on Earth. 6 billion more in our colonies. Children, families, old people, young people, all of them. You would have killed them all because we wanted to be free. The representatives shifted uncomfortably. We had every right to destroy you in return, Shin said. Some of my people wanted exactly that. They argued that we should burn your home worlds as a lesson to anyone else who might threaten us. Felt his crystal form vibrate with fear. But that is not who we are, Shin continued. We did not survive and grow and reach the stars by being monsters. We did it by being creative, by being stubborn, by refusing to give up, and by believing that the future can be better than the past. She pressed something on her console. Documents appeared on every tribunal screen. This is the Galactic Compact, a new agreement, not a surrender, not a punishment, a partnership. The representatives began to read. Their eyes and sensors moved across the words with growing confusion. Equal representation for all species, no one above anyone else, trade agreements that benefit everyone, shared technology, shared knowledge, a galaxy where everyone works together instead of one group controlling everyone else. You would make us your equals, asked. He could not believe what he was reading. After what we tried to do to you. Yes, Shin said simply. Why, you have the power to rule. Why would you share it? Shin smiled softly. It was a kind smile, a grandmother's smile. Because power that comes from fear does not last. Because empires built on control always fall. Because we have a saying on our world, those who cannot forgive others break the bridge they themselves must cross. She folded her hands in front of her. We choose to build bridges, High Arbiter, even with those who tried to destroy us. The question is, will you walk across? Looked around the chamber. He saw the other representatives looking back at him. He saw fear in some faces, shame in others, and in a few something that might have been hope. We need to discuss this, he said. You have 1 hour, Shin replied. After that I will assume you have chosen war, and we will finish what you started. The display went dark. The chamber erupted in argument. Some wanted to fight, some wanted to surrender, some wanted to accept the offer. Voices rose and fell, accusations flew. But in the end, there was only one possible answer. They had lost, and the humans were offering them something better than defeat. They were offering them a future. One by one, the representatives voted. The vote was unanimous. The Galactic Tribunal accepted the compact. 60,000 years of rule came to an end, not with destruction, not with revenge, but with the offer of a handshake from the species they had tried to exterminate. The universe would never be the same. The news spread across the galaxy like fire. At first, no one believed it. The Galactic Tribunal, which had ruled for 60,000 years, had been defeated. Their great fleet was destroyed, and they had surrendered to a species that had only traveled through space for 300 years. It was impossible, it had to be a trick, but it was true. On 12 different worlds, the ancient species received the announcement from their representatives. The war was over. They had signed the Galactic Compact. They were no longer rulers of the galaxy. They were partners with humanity, equals. Some were angry. They had grown up believing their species was special, better than others, stronger and smarter. Now they had to accept that a young species had beaten them completely. Pride is hard to kill. Some were afraid. What would the humans do now? Would they keep their word? Would they truly share power? Or was this just the beginning of a new empire, one that would be even worse than the tribunal? But some were curious, and a few were even hopeful. On the Sovereign Citadel, a ceremony was held. High Arbiter stood beside Dr. Shin. His crystal body still showed cracks, but he stood straight and tall. Around them, representatives from all 12 species had gathered. And for the first time, there were human representatives too. Admiral Park was there, wearing her formal uniform. Her gray hair was pulled back neatly. Her face was serious but not cold. Beside her stood General Minyu, Captain Sara Lee, and Dr. Han. The people who had won the war were now present to help build the peace. "We signed this compact not as winners and losers," Shin said to the assembled beings. "We sign it as neighbors, as fellow travelers through the universe. The past cannot be changed. The tribunal declared war on us. Many lives were lost, but the future is not written yet. Today, we choose what that future will be." Stepped forward. His voice rang through the chamber like chimes. "For 60,000 years, my people and our allies believed we knew how the galaxy should work. We believed order could only come from control. We believed peace could only come from power. We were wrong." He turned to face Shin. "You had every reason to destroy us. We planned your extinction. We would have killed billions of your people without a moment of regret. And yet you offered us mercy. You offered us partnership. I do not fully understand why, but I am grateful." They shook hands. Crystal touched flesh. Two species, so different from each other, joined together in a single gesture of hope. Across the galaxy, beings watched this moment on screens and displays. They saw the old leader and the new leader standing together. They saw the end of one era and the beginning of another. On Earth, the celebration lasted for days. People filled the streets of every city. They laughed and sang and cried tears of joy. They had faced extinction and survived. Not just survived, but won. And they had won without becoming monsters themselves. But not everyone was celebrating. Admiral Park walked through a garden outside the command center. Cherry blossoms were blooming. Pink petals fell like gentle snow. Birds sang in the trees. After everything that had happened, the world continued. Flowers still grew. Seasons still changed. General Minyu found her there. "It is done," he said. "The last tribunal commanders have accepted the compact. All fleets are standing down." "Casualties?" asked. She always asked this question. She needed to know the cost of victory. On their side, about 2.3 million crew members across the destroyed ships. On our side, he checked his. 12 people were wounded in a reactor accident on the "no deaths." Closed her eyes. Over 2 million aliens had died today. Beings with families, with hopes and dreams. They had been enemies, yes. They had come to kill humanity. But they were still living beings, and now they were gone. "They will hate us," she said quietly. "The other species. For generations they will fear and hate us." "Perhaps," Minyu agreed. "Or perhaps they will learn what we learned long ago." "What is that?" "That the universe is big enough for everyone, if we choose to share it." They stood together in silence, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and gold. Far away on the ship Hammer of Dawn, Captain Sara Lee stood on her bridge. The ship was heading home. The crew was tired but proud. They had done something incredible today. Her first officer joined her at the viewing window. "I never thought I would see this," said. "Peace with the tribunal, a galaxy where we are not prey." "It is not peace yet," Sara replied. "It is only the beginning. There will be problems, disagreements. Old hatreds do not die easily. We will have to work hard to make this new order actually work. But at least we have the chance. That is more than we had yesterday." Sara nodded. "That is true. Yesterday they wanted to erase us from existence. Today they sit at the same table with us. Tomorrow, who knows? She watched the stars outside the window. So many of them, so many worlds, so many possibilities. On Earth, Dr. Han sat alone in his laboratory. The equipment around him was quiet now. His life's work was complete. The fold drive technology he had created had saved his species from extinction. But he felt no triumph, only exhaustion and a strange emptiness. A young assistant knocked on his door. "Doctor, Secretary General Shin is asking for you. There is going to be a ceremony." "I will not attend," said quietly. "I am tired. I think I will rest." The assistant hesitated. "Doctor, you saved humanity. You are a hero. Everyone wants to thank you." Shook his head. "I created weapons of terrible power. I made it possible to kill millions of beings in a single moment. That does not make me a hero. That makes me a man who did terrible things for necessary reasons." He looked at the young assistant with old, sad eyes. "Go enjoy the celebration. You have earned it. Let an old man have his peace." The assistant left, sat in the darkness, surrounded by the machines that had won the war. He hoped it had been worth it. 1 month later, the first meeting of the new Galactic Council was held. Representatives from all 13 species sat around a great circular table. 12 ancient peoples and 1 young species, all equal under the compact. There were arguments, there were disagreements, there were moments when it seemed like the whole thing might fall apart. But it did not fall apart. Slowly, carefully, day by day, they began to build something new. Trade routes opened. Technology was shared. Old enemies became colleagues, then partners, and eventually friends. Not everyone accepted the change. There were rebellions. There were those who longed for the old days. There was pain and difficulty. But there was also progress. And in the history books of every species, this day was remembered. The day the war began and ended, the day the old order fell, and the day a new future was born. All in a single day. The humans had come to the stars as children, small and weak and unimportant. They had been threatened with extinction. And they had responded not with hatred, but with hope. That was their greatest victory of all.